Forgiveness versus revenge. Two paths that every human faces when hurt. But which one truly leads to peace and strength? In this powerful reflection, we explore why forgiveness is often seen as a weakness. Yet it is, in fact, one of the most transformative choices we can make. You may be familiar with the phrase, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. It promises justice, but often delivers only more pain and violence. But what if there's a different path? One that doesn't just seek justice, but breaks the cycle of violence itself. Forgiveness versus revenge is not just a theoretical question. It's a decision that shapes our personal and collective destiny. In a world where retaliating might seem natural, forgiveness offers a radical alternative. It is the power to transform pain, to break the chains of hate, and to choose love over resentment. Imagine two scenes. In the first, a man strikes, and the other responds with equal force. The blow rebounds, multiplies, and soon, no one can tell who started it. In the second, a man strikes, and the other does not respond. Not out of fear, but by choice. In that silence, the chain of hatred breaks. In the Old Testament, the law of retaliation, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, was born in a harsh world where revenge was unlimited and could destroy entire families or tribes. That law, though it may seem cruel to us today, was actually a barrier. It set a limit. If someone hurt you, you could inflict an equivalent harm, no more. It was a way to prevent escalation, to provide an earthly order to human behavior. But it was still a law that spoke the language of power. It was justice calculated, yes, but justice that kept the flame of retaliation alive. And when the flame stays alight, it only takes a breath to turn it into a blaze. The problem is that the reciprocity of violence never closes the account. It renews it. Each retaliatory blow becomes a new wrong to avenge. And so, generation after generation, resentment is passed on like a poisoned inheritance. We still see this today. Family feuds that last decades, ethnic conflicts that drag on for centuries, wars where every attack is a response to a prior offense. No one truly wins. The dead are counted, and the ground is prepared for the next clash. The law of retaliation, though created to contain violence, ends up legitimizing it. And when violence is legitimized, it becomes easy to justify, even when it is no longer needed. Then, 2,000 years ago, a man spoke words unimaginable for his time. If someone strikes you on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. It's not an invitation to passivity, it's a challenge. Jesus doesn't soften the ancient law, he turns it upside down. He doesn't say limit your revenge, but give up revenge. He doesn't say strike in measure, but don't strike at all. In a world that saw strength as the only respectable language, Jesus proposed a new one, that of unconditional love. A love that is not a weak feeling, but a conscious choice to break the chain of hatred. Imagine the scene in Gethsemane. Peter draws his sword to defend the master, but Jesus stops him. Put your sword back in its place. In that gesture lies the entire Christian revolution. Victory is not achieved by defeating the enemy, but by refusing to become one. This break is not just theological. It is psychological, social, political, because choosing not to respond to violence with violence means challenging the most ancient instinct of the human being. Yet it is precisely there that the strength to change a person's fate and a people's fate lies. In the next part, we'll explore why forgiveness is not weakness, but power. How the two roads, vengeance and forgiveness, lead to opposite worlds. What obstacles prevent us from forgiving, and how we can cultivate this strength in our everyday lives. Many think that forgiving means surrendering, that it's a sign of weakness, a lack of courage. But the truth is the opposite. Forgiving requires a strength that vengeance doesn't know. Vengeance is instinctive, immediate, almost automatic. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is a conscious choice that comes from a vision greater than oneself. Think of Nelson Mandela. After 27 years of imprisonment, he could have sought revenge. Instead, he chose reconciliation, and that choice changed the destiny of an entire nation. Or Gandhi, who responded to violence with nonviolence, turning an unarmed people into an unstoppable force. Or Martin Luther King, who preached love for enemies in a racially torn America. Forgiveness is the invisible weapon that disarms even the enemy. Vengeance and forgiveness are not just two attitudes, they are two worlds. Vengeance fuels hatred, and hatred breeds war. It's a self-sustaining cycle, where every wound becomes an excuse to inflict another. Forgiveness, however, interrupts the cycle. It doesn't erase the pain, but transforms it into a seed of peace. Imagine two cities. In the first, the streets are empty, the houses destroyed, and the air heavy with suspicion. In the second, people shake hands, rebuild together, and the past is not a weapon, but a lesson. Vengeance multiplies graves. Forgiveness multiplies hands that shake. So why is it so difficult to forgive? Because pride whispers to us that yielding is losing. Because fear tells us that if we don't react, we'll be hurt again. Because society applauds those who strike, but forgets those who heal. We live in a culture that confuses strength with aggression. But true strength is not about dominating the other. It is about mastering oneself. And forgiveness is the highest act of self-control a human being can perform. The world praises those who win a war, but history remembers those who build peace. Forgiveness is not a feeling that comes on its own. It's a practice. 3 steps can help us. Acknowledge the pain. Don't minimize what happened, but face it head on. Choose not to respond in kind, not out of weakness, but out of freedom. Seek understanding, not to justify the wrong, but to understand the human behind it. Every time we choose not to repay a wrong, we are strengthening the muscle of forgiveness. And, like any muscle, the more we use it, the stronger it becomes. Forgiveness begins as a choice and becomes freedom. Every day, we stand at a crossroads. We can choose the way of the eye for an eye, which promises justice but only delivers more suffering. Or we can choose to turn the other cheek, which may seem madness to the world, but is the only road that leads to peace. The next time you are hurt, remember, your reaction will not only change your fate, but also the fate of those around you. You can feed the fire or extinguish it. Peace doesn't come when the enemy falls, but when you call him brother. Imagine 2 hands reaching out across the rubble. It doesn't matter who struck first. In that moment, the war is over, and true history can finally begin.